we live in a time where there's a crisis of purpose. It wasn't always like this. For a long time, people in the U.S. were able to find purpose and satisfaction through the pursuit of the American dream. For decades and decades, college was affordable, and getting a college degree was your ticket to a comfortable life. After you graduated, you could pretty much count on getting a good job, buying a home in the suburbs, and getting your white picket fence. Even if you didn't go to college, you could still have a career and support a family. My father actually drove a trash truck for a living for 40 years and was able to support our family by himself. Anybody who grew up in the 90s, they saw in the media The Simpsons and Al Bundy and different sorts of characters that were able to have these sort of working class jobs and still support a family and own a home. Families used to live closer together, marriages used to last longer, and although life was never perfect, many people felt good enough about the opportunities that were in front of them that it gave them something to work towards, and people found purpose in that. Obviously, a lot has changed since then. Higher education now is very, very big business. The presidents of universities, they're no longer educators, but bankers and people from the corporate world. Tuition isn't really affordable anymore. Just a few statistics for you. After we adjust for inflation, the cost for tuition has increased 747% since 1963. Student loans, a hot topic of debate these days, it currently totals $1.6 trillion that people have in student loan debt across the country. The average student graduates from a 4-year degree program with around $30,000 in debt. And if that weren't bad enough, that 4-year degree that many people get, it's not as valuable today as it used to be. You used to be able to get a good paying job right out of college. Now, these days, it's much, much more difficult. People relocate more now, and they relocate farther and farther from their parents. Families are more spread out. Divorces are way up. More children are born outside of marriage today than ever. In 1990, 28% of children in the United States were born outside of marriage. Today, that's 40%. So our times are defined by these sorts of trends. Our jobs are less stable, our relationships are less stable, and life in general is less stable. The American dream for many people has started to seem like a myth. And one of the most common reflections that I hear from people who move to the United States from abroad, they say, well, not only can it be very, very lonely here, but I feel like I have to work so hard just to survive. Now, all these things were going on before 2020 and COVID hit. And of course, after COVID hit, things got even worse. But as a person of faith, and particularly as a Muslim, we believe that there is always opportunity in hardship. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, "Inna ma'al usri yusra." There's always a silver lining. Now that the safety net has been removed for a lot of people, people are forced to acknowledge the fact that living for material success and taking our purpose from material success, it's not enough. And it never actually was enough. And while many people, they reach for other things in order to derive meaning and purpose, some of those things that they reach for, they're just numbing themselves, trying to take the pain away. Whether it's entertainment, whether it's substances. However, us in Islam, we have something that gives more purpose for human life than anything else. More purpose than your job, more purpose than any political movement, more purpose than any other thing that you can think of. And that is the purpose that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to you. The classical scholar Raghib al-Asfahani, he said that the first stage of morality is to believe in beautiful things. The first stage to being a good person is to believe in beautiful things. And that is counter to a lot of what people believe in today. They say, wait a second, it doesn't matter necessarily the content of what you believe, whether you believe this or that. The important thing is that you're just a good person. You hold the door open for other people. You smile. You do these sorts of things. You give to charity. But we know different as Muslims, that what you believe matters everything. هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون? Are the people who know, are they the same as the people who don't? If I believe, for example, that my life came about randomly, by chance, if the entire human existence is just the result of a random genetic mutation, don't you think this is going to have an effect on my sense of purpose, my sense of identity, and my sense of what it is I should be doing in this life? And whatever purpose I sort of patch together after the fact, it's going to be a very, very weak purpose. We have cliches that kind of circulate in the atmosphere. You know, be happy. That's what people say. Make others happy. Follow your dreams. Follow your heart. These are the things that we used to be told in school. And these cliches, they might work, and we might be able to get a little bit of purpose out of them when times are good. But what about when they're not? When that safety net starts to fall away, when times get tough, these sorts of cliches start to crack and crumble. Purpose has to start with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the only way for it to last. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Hakim al-Wadud. He is the most wise and the most loving. So if He decided to create you, if He determined that it was worthwhile to bring you into existence, then I've got news for you. That means that you were created with wisdom and you were created with love. There is wisdom behind the fact that you exist, and there's love behind the fact that you exist. Doesn't that affect your sense of purpose in life? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says to Iblis in the Qur'an, قَالَ يَا إِبْلِيسُ مَا مَنَعَكَ أَن تَسْجُدَ لِمَا خَلَقْتُ بِيَدَيْهِ. Oh Iblis, what stopped you from bowing down to what I created with my own hands? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't create everything with His own hands. Here in, mashallah, the Lehigh Valley, you've got a lot of nice parks. You've got the gorges, you've got the mountains and the trails. You go out, you climb a mountain, and you see that creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you say, subhanallah, this is amazing. You see the sun go down over the horizon and all the colors in the sky, you say, wow, this is incredible. And yet, did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create those things with His own hands? No. But He created you and I, human beings, with His own hands, subhanah. But our purpose doesn't even stop there, though that is enough. That's quite a lot, to feel good about ourselves and to feel like we're here for something real, beyond just being happy or trying to, check some boxes or follow the production line that's going to get us into a good career. Our purpose is much, much more than even that. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the angels that He's going to make human beings, the very first thing that He tells them is the highest purpose for our existence. قال سبحانه وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة. And when your Lord said to the angels, surely I am placing on earth a Khalifa. Listen to what Allah said. He didn't say He's going to make human beings. He didn't say He's going to create some new species, Homo sapiens. He didn't say He's going to make mankind. He started with a job title and a job description. جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. We're going to put on earth a Khalifa. A Khalifa is somebody who is left behind, somebody who's left in charge, somebody who is delegated a position of authority, a caretaker. And as a Khalifa, we don't have a blank check to do whatever we want to do. We have to do things according to the will of the one who left us here and left us in charge. That same scholar, al-Ard Asfahani, he says that if you look at the whole entire Qur'an, you can find 3 reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. And they're at levels, right? There's a lower level, and then a middle level, and then a higher level. The lowest level that we exist, Imarat al-Ard, has to do with settling on earth. It has to do with your livelihood, going out and making a living, supporting your kids, raising a family, these sorts of things. The reason why that's part of our purpose is that that realm brings us face to face with gratitude. It makes us feel indebted. You go out there and make a living, and you know that you try your hardest, but at the end of the day, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He brings you something that you don't deserve. Or He gives you more than what your actions should have brought in. Or He creates opportunities for you out of thin air that maybe you didn't see coming. All of this is meant to make us feel indebted. It's meant to make us feel gratitude. We look at the food that we have to eat, the variety of the things we have, the fruits and the vegetables and the grains and the desserts and everything. If you look at the animals, they don't get to have as much variety as we do. You see, the beauty on earth, the beauty defies explanation. Beauty that's beyond what the creation needs in order to communicate with each other. Let's say, for example, the flowers. You look at the flowers. How beautiful are the flowers? The colors and the scents. Well, some atheist is going to come along and he's going to say, well, the flower, it smells good so that it attracts the pollinator, and then the pollinator, it does the sort of processes. No. That's not sufficient for an explanation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have brought the pollinators with way less beauty than He used. The degree of beauty that exists in the creation defies explanation just like that. The same goes for the birds. We hear the birds sing in the morning and in the evenings. Beautiful songs. The atheist comes and he says, well, that's just so that they can mate with each other and they can communicate where the food is and things like that. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't have to make it that beautiful. He could have gotten the job done with a lot less beauty. So we have this fear of Imarat, whereas our livelihood, we're interacting with Allah's creation, the bounty, the rizq, everything, the fadl. And it's meant to draw our attention to this. It's meant to draw our attention to our sense of ingratitude. And then that's a test. For people who are pure of heart, they're going to want to express shukr. They're going to want to express gratitude. They're like, wow, subhanAllah, I see all of this in the creation. I can't explain it. I don't know how it got here, but I do know this. I do know that I have to be thankful for it. And the person with a wicked heart or with a dark heart or a closed heart, they're going to fool themselves and say, you know what, this is just what it is. Random, by chance. I don't have anything to be thankful for. I give the example, imagine you came in, every single one of you today, you came into the high school. Imagine the first thing that you saw when you came in. It wasn't the table for check-in and the tickets or things like that. No, it was a feast. It was a banquet. All of your favorite foods were there. All of the meats and all of the sweets and all of the drinks were poured up in glasses, and the forks and the spoons and the knives were all right there on the table. The napkins were all folded out. The chairs were pulled out, ready for someone to sit down. But nobody else is there. It's just you. There's two types of people. Person one is going to say, well, wait a second. How did all this get here? Am I allowed to take? Am I allowed to eat? And if I am allowed, who should I thank? Who should I be grateful for? What are the rules? What are the limits? Is there something here that I'm not allowed to do? That's the conscientious person with a clear heart. The second type of person, they're going to say, well, you know what? Bismillah. They're going to go to town. They're not going to ask questions. They're going to say, oh, well, I just happened to stumble across this, and it is what it is, and my lucky day. That person doesn't seek to be grateful. The person doesn't seek to understand what the limits are. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us with this bounty and tests us with the entire creation and says, look, who's going to be grateful? So the level one purpose, Imarat al-Ard, has to do with our livelihood. And then that brings us, the people with pure hearts, that's going to bring them to the second level, and that's the one everybody knows from Sunday school. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That I created human beings and jinn so that they would worship me. Expression of gratitude. That's why we worship. We have a lot to be thankful for. We're extremely indebted, more indebted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than we are to Sally Mae or whoever is giving us student loans. That's the second level, being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's different types of being grateful. So one type of being grateful, okay, it's the thing that we know, the worship. 5 daily prayers, your zakat, your siyam. But there's other types of being grateful that are extremely important as well. Not wasting. Not wasting the bounty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you. Let's go back to that table that we imagine was all laid out in front of us. Okay, you say that you're grateful, you ask permission to eat, but then what do you do with the food? You're making a mess. You're throwing things on the floor. You're spilling things over. Is that really what gratitude looks like? It's not. We're in this dunya, we're in this world, and we deal with bounty every single day. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to show our gratitude through not just the acts of worship that He's laid out for us and decreed for us, but also by using responsibly, not wasting. Then it comes to obedience. And that's also there within gratitude. In order to have true gratitude, you have to be willing to listen to the rules. If you're going to be grateful for the feast that was set up for you, if the host tells you, well, don't touch that one plate, then you're not going to touch it. You can't take matters into your own hands. That's level 2. So we have level 1, Imarat al-Ard, livelihood. You're interacting with the bounty that's supposed to make you grateful. That's level 2, worship, expressing your gratitude. The highest level is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the angels. Inni ja'ilun fil ard Khalifah. Someone left behind. Because you can be grateful and you can be worshiping and you can be expressing your gratitude, but it can be limited to you. It can be you in your room and your prayer rug. When you start to think, I'm Allah's Khalifa in this creation, it's not just about you anymore. It's about your duty to others. It's about your duty to everybody else in this room, your duty to everybody else in this city, everybody else in this ummah, everybody else in this creation. You are Allah's caretaker. And so you have a job to do. And you're not going to do it well and you're not going to do it right unless you're able to do one thing. And that is dissolve your will into the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Harmony between what you want and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. You look at the creation and you see things and some are good and some are bad and you're looking at them and you're just thinking, what would Allah want me to do here? Or what would Allah Azza wa Jal have done? And so that's your perspective and that's how you're interacting. That's your lens. Everything you're interacting with the creation, if you've become the Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth, that's the work. That's the job that you're doing. And it looks different and it touches every single aspect of the creation. Think about animals. We have animals here. Oh, subhanAllah, mashallah. Now I can't see you. We were making good eye contact before. Now I'm going to have to look into the abyss. Think about how we treat animals. Do you know that in the United States, well, thank you. Look at in the United States, we test things on animals without thinking twice. We want a personal care product. I want my hair to flow. I don't like it to hug. Or I want my hair to be this texture or that color or this thing or that thing. Oh no, let's just grab some animals. Let's test it out on them first. Without any thought. And animals die in the process, right? We buy food. Not the food that we're talking about where it's dhabiha and we're processing it in an intentional way. We're talking about things that wreck habitats, things that destroy the ability for some creatures on earth to live. Would a Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do such things? I don't think that he would, or she would. We look about environmental issues. We have so many environmental issues today. And I disagree with the way that it's talked about. We talk about it in terms of climate change, or we talk about it in the terms of global warming. And these terms, they imply something. They imply that it was only a problem when things started changing. It was only a problem when the earth started warming. And so then you've got other people that say, no, it's not warming. Or climate change, it's only a problem once the climate starts changing. That's not how a Khalifa of Allah thinks. The Khalifa of Allah, he thinks, what's the right thing to do? What's the right way to interact with Allah's creation? How do I make sure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy with me in the way that I use resources? Whether it's water from the sink. We have the hadith of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, right? He was asked, is it possible to even waste water while doing wudu? He said, even if you were in a running river. Yes. And so we interact with the world, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects better. He wants us to be Khalifa. He wants us to take care of everything. We see it with family. We see it with orphans. Remember all those kids that are born out of wedlock. All the orphans that are across the world, especially here in the United States. What would the Khalifa of Allah do? The Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be taking care of them, would be on the front lines. And people would know us as Muslims. They say, yeah, I know the Muslims. Yeah, they're not those people that you see on TV that are, screaming and holding weapons and things like that. Yeah, they're the people who strive to take care of these vulnerable people that nobody else is willing to deal with. That's what it looks like to be a Khalifa. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لَيَسْتَغْفِرُ لِلْعَالِمِ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ حَتَّى الْحِيتَانِ فِي الْبَحْرِ. He said that for somebody who knows this deen, so who knows the deen of Islam, the entire creation is going to ask Allah to forgive this person, even the fish in the sea. And the ulama, when they explain this hadith, they're like, even the fish in the sea, why? How can the fish in the sea care about what the alim on earth does? And the ulama, they said, because the alim understands his purpose. He's not going to wrong anybody. He understands how to give every single creature his due right. He's not going to make a false step. He's going to really be the Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth, doing the work of Allah as Allah would want it done here in the creation. This might seem like very, very lofty goals, but in fact, it's our destiny. And it's also our potential. The famous poet, al-Sha'ir al-Mutanabbi, he has a line where he says, وَلَمْ أَرَى فِي عُيُوبِ النَّاسِ شَيْئًا كَنَقْصِ الْقَادِرِينَ عَلَى التَّمَامِ. He said, there's no shortcoming worse than the lack of filling one's potential. You can have a sword, and the sword is made for battle. If you use the sword for something other than its purpose, it's embarrassing. If I use the sword to cut a piece of paper, I hang it on the wall and I only take it down to cut paper. What's the point of the sword? Modern day example, if I have a race car, some of the young guys here, I bet are into cars. If I have a race car, the fastest car in Allentown, and it's just sitting in the driveway, or I just go to pick up my baby sister from school, I don't ever take it out on the racetrack. What's the point? What's the point? This is our destiny, to be a Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have every moment where we're interacting with Allah's creation an expression of Allah's will and Allah's wish. What would He want us to do? Islam gives us this purpose, and there is no greater purpose. Islam and Allah Azza wa Jal gives us a reason to rise, and that is used in several senses. Allah gives us a reason to rise out of bed in the morning because everybody depends on us. The orphan depends on us. The vulnerable depend on us. The widows depend on us. The environment, the earth depends on us. If the Muslims don't come in and save the day, who is or who will? Islam gives us a reason to rise. It gives us a reason to rise in the sense of developing ourselves. We can't stay stagnant. We're not meant to just live at the level of Imarat al-Ard. We're not meant to just live at the level of subsistence or livelihood. And even that of ibadah, of worship. We're meant for something much higher, for Khilafah. And at the day of judgment, when everything's said and done, when we rise out of our graves, inshaAllah, this role, this responsibility, and this duty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us will give us a reason to rise out of our graves with hope for what comes next. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.